February 5th, 2012, first day of our journey in Greece. The country is on the edge of chaos. Landing on the island of Lemnos under those circumstances might appear insane. There is no exact date for the upcoming legislative elections expected in less than 2 months. In 5 days in Athens, the Parliament will vote on the agreement between the Greek government and the European Union. If it approves this memorandum, the Greeks will need to tighten their belt. If it says no, it will be complete chaos. So everywhere anger rises. Labor unions have called for a general strike, and on top of it, the weather forecast isn't good, far worse than the political forecast at least, and it's no good for us.
Πόσο πολύ, πόσο πολύ, πόσο πολύ σ' αγάπησα, πόσο πολύ σ' αγάπησα, ποτέ δεν θα το μάθεις.
Lashed by the wind and battered by the waves, Lemnos looks more like the North Sea than the Mediterranean Sea. We've been warned that we could get stuck in this dead end, but we just wouldn't listen, getting away from the media frenzy. We just couldn't resist to start this trip in Greece with this forgotten corner of the Aegean Sea in order to plunge into the country's heartland. A threatening stormy weather forced the fishermen to drop anchor and take refuge in the harbor's cafe. Here they call me Skoularikias. It means Mr. Earring. You're in the best cafe on the island of Lemnos. This is the most authentic place of all, and so when people aren't working, they come here to discuss their problems. And we're full of problems right now. And what's more, the island is completely cut off from the mainland. This is a difficult time for those who live by the sea. Traditional fishing has always been our livelihood, but now I'm finding it hard to survive. Under normal circumstances, everybody gets ragged on. So imagine, on this day, anything goes. Politicians are just blowing out a lot of hot air. Here, there's nobody to help us, and the ones we see all the time on TV just ignore us.
Με τις πιέσεις του γαλλογερμανικού άξονα να γίνονται ασφικτικές. Οι πρωτοφανείς απαιτήσεις της Τρόικας έχουν ξεσηκώσει θύελλα αντιδράσεων, με χιλιάδες διαδηλωτές να συγκεντρώνονται στο Σύνταγμα. Ταξίδα 400 ευρώ, 4 τόνοι. Ρεύμα 200 ευρώ, έτσι το χαράτσι 308. Ένας ολόκληρος μισθός φεύγει πριν καλά φτάσει στα χέρια των καταναλωτών για να πληρωθούν οι φόροι. Είχαμε το κενό των 600 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ.
Antonis Hatzidiamantis is the mayor of Lemnos. Contrary to Greek politicians, he is truly appreciated by his voters. He is in harmony with their moods. Television has become our daily dose of terror. Every day we hear that our wages, our pensions, and our jobs are disappearing. All this might sound abstract, but the crisis lives in our hearts and minds. It has done a lot of damage to our little island. As a first consequence here, shipping companies have reduced their sailing capabilities. Only one round trip a day between the island and the mainland. The people in Lemnos haven't appreciated it at all, and since then have called for a blockade the other way around. 5 days earlier, this is what happened when the ferry boat arrived in the harbor. A group was there to prevent the ship from docking.
Επιβάτες ή επιχειρηματίες ή μεταφορείς, και σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για την παρουσία σας. Ξέρουμε ότι ταλαιπωρηθήκατε, γιατί ακόμα και σε αυτό το αποχαιρετιστήριο ραντεβού, το Άκουα Μαρία μας έστησε.
Today the ferry boat shows up, but doesn't insist anymore. To keep up appearances, the ship makes a few circles before sailing back to the mainland. An odd ritual which repeats itself every day. It's been the same scenario for 3 months. And today, like yesterday, Antonis organizes the revolt from the town hall. It is unacceptable for a state-subsidized company to monopolize maritime traffic and treat us like that. And as professionals, you should all file a formal complaint immediately. We need to go inside the villages to collect signatures. It will make all the difference to arrive at the port with 15,000 signatures of protest. Right now, officials and ministers have their heads elsewhere, and so our problems do not really interest them. We're actually doing something that will eventually lead to nothing. Lemnos is one of the last strongholds of an old-age tradition. So do we all agree? Okay. How shall we proceed? We'll just swim, as the minister said. By swimming, perhaps, but on a high note anyway. The small group of protesters head again to the waterfront for a new blockade. But a force 10 gale sweeps across the Aegean Sea. The ferry boat will not even make a U-turn in the harbor, and this time the small group will come home unsuccessful. A good news. Transportation unions have talked about calling off the strike. Tomorrow, we might return to the mainland. The next morning, at the airport of Lemnos. After 2 hours of waiting, the verdict falls. The runway is frozen and the flight is now cancelled. The island hasn't seen that much snow in ages. No flight, no ships because of the blockade, and now the snow keeps us stuck here when unions seem to become reasonable. We wanted to film chaos in Greece, and we got what we asked for. At the other end of the island, 70-year-old Costas lives here. We met him the day before. He wanted to talk to us, but he doesn't expect to see us today. He's happy, and so are we. You see those little lambs over there? Once they see me, they jump all over me. Crisis or no crisis, they couldn't care less. They just want to eat. My stepfather left me 10 sheep. And even when you have just 10 sheep, you're pretty much stuck. Nobody will take care of them if you go on vacation. I want to tell our politicians, come visit us in the dead of winter. Come see the work of a breeder. If they really think our job is easier than theirs, then why don't they just come here and tell us face to face? Here life is hard. With all this snow, lots of snow, and no food for the animals. With all these taxes and charges, I cannot buy anything. Look, now I'm not even breeding, just babysitting livestock, because of these mangy dogs, these lawless, faithless scammers, dirty liars, dirty thieves. I appeal to all Greeks, from the depths of my dark barn where only the cameraman can light me up, my friends, my Greek countrymen, Do not vote for these bastards again. They're just liars, crooks, thieves. Every one of those 300 members are all the same. Kostas' path is not an easy one for the upcoming elections, at least not for the government parties who've mixed with the European Union. And just to make sure we get the message, Kostas asked a colleague from work to join him in the nearest cafe. Nobody's governing Greece right now. Greece is like a vineyard without any enclosures. In fact, it is actually the Troika that governs us. All these people trying to squeeze us like olives. Like Miss Merkel. You see her on television all the time. Does she have a problem with Greece or what? They just want their money. Their precious money. They come here to pressure us, to make us bend. It has nothing to do with politics. This is just about money. That's it. When I owed money, I also want to be paid back. But guess what? The state owes me 100 euros and they still haven't given it back. But I still have new taxes to pay. And where will I find the money? My income has been dropping. How am I going to get by? Can't they understand that? Not a chance. They say they're doing this to save Greece. Well, no thank you, sir. Not off my back. Let me tell you, Mikhailis, we're between a rock and a hard place. And they're the ones dictating the laws.
Speaking.
Με τη συμφωνία των πολιτικών αρχηγών για τα μέτρα πηγαίνει τελικά στο Eurogroup ο Ευάγγελος Βενιζέλος, αφού αργά το μεσημέρι ο Πρωθυπουργός ανακοίνωσε ότι βρέθηκε κοινά αποδεκτή λύση.
Our third day on the island of Lemnos. No departures scheduled for today. Back to the hotel, we learn that all the north of Greece is paralyzed both by rare snowfall and by the strike. We wanted to feel the pulse of the heartland, and for that, the gods are on our side.
Ζήτω η ελευθερία! Όχι! Την αρχική αντίδραση των τρελών. Η κραυγή «Ζήτω η ελευθερία» είναι μια διέξοδος του υποσυνείδητου τη στιγμή της κρίσης.
Κατάλαβα! Επειδή τώρα βρίσκεται σε κρίση, φωνάζει «Ζήτω η ελευθερία».
Τη φερετροφοβία.
Αχ, πάσχω κι εγώ από αυτή την ασθένεια.
Δεν μπορώ να σκεφτώ ότι θα μείνω κλεισμένος μέσα σε ένα φέρετρο. Έχω εφιάλτες, το καταλαβαίνεις, ξυπνάω τη νύχτα. Νομίζω ότι είμαι κλεισμένος μέσα σε ένα φέρετρο. Θέλω να φωνάξω. Δεν μπορώ, υδρώνω. Αισθάνομαι να με σφίγγει εδώ στις πλάτες. Θέλω να φωνάξω. Δεν μπορώ. Συνέχεια μου.
Ηρεμήστε.
The repertory company from Lemnos in the middle of rehearsal. It works on a play written by Italian playwright Dario Fo, a political activist as much as a writer. His passionate texts are a real reflection of today's society and they move us. Excuse me, but do you realize what period we are living in? Troika, the IMF, they all want to reduce our wages and our pensions are cut every other month. Two coalition parties had announced they would not support these measures, which have once again brought down our standard of living. Today they swear they never said that. In fact, they just gave their approval. Do you really think they had a choice? Maybe not, but they promised to resist. Yes, and you actually believe them. All this is just really bad theater.
Λήθεια, δεν σου πέρασε από το μυαλό ότι σου διηγηθήκαμε μαλακίες. Όλο αυτό για τη μεταφορά του νεκροταφείου ήταν μαλακίες. Τώρα όμως που έρχεται η αστυνομία, εγώ φεύγω.
Κάτσε να με βοηθήσεις.
Ζήτω η ελευθερία!
Γιατί να μας δανείζουν τόσα δισεκατομμύρια τώρα?
Why does Europe still want to lend us 130 billion euros when they know very well that we cannot repay them? Don't worry, they'll pay with our islands by transforming them into resorts. Yes, it's one of the conditions of the loan. Many of my friends have already left in hope of a better life. Some are already preparing their departure for Germany. Others have already sold their homes. Others have left their families to go to Australia. And now I'm wondering what I'm still doing here. We also wondered what we were still doing here, but for very different reasons. And then we got used to it. So much that when we learned that the airport was opening again this afternoon, we weren't so enthusiastic. We were much less enthusiastic than listening to the municipal band of Lemnos. Officially, the school is closed due to heavy snow, but not for the band that the director gathered for practice. But as soon as the music stops, the issue of exile regularly comes back in the conversation. When you grow up, do you really think you'll leave the island? Or will you be too used to living here? I would like to go abroad, discover new cultures, and come back here on holiday. Well, I'd like to go away to study, but I'll come back here for sure. I don't know if I'll be able to go away to school. I do not think my parents will be able to pay for it. For me, the crisis is when young people no longer have the chance to dream. When they cut your wings, you can no longer do anything. Do you think we'll get through this? Yes. We're having a rough time, but I think we'll get through this. If we keep at it, things should get better.
Βρέκα χάγια περηφάνε με τις πλάτιες λαγάρες έλα περάσε παίξε και γελάσε.
The people from Lemnos are so welcoming and they remain so dignified through desperate times that the rest of this road trip could wait a little. After all, we felt Greece was standing firm in here. The airport of Lemnos is open again and we finally take off. We don't head directly to Drama, our scheduled destination. It would be too easy. The bad weather conditions force us to stop in Athens. Then so be it. Once in Athens, we're in a dilemma. Either we take the next flight to resume our interrupted journey, or stay in Athens. Frightening rumors are going around. We decide to cover the story. We're headed downtown towards the Parliament as Georges Papandreou, the former Prime Minister, is defending the new austerity plan.
Η συνταγή του πρώτου και του δεύτερου μνημονίου δεν ήταν σωστή ή λάθος. Ήταν και είναι η μόνη διαθέσιμη για την Ελλάδα και μάλιστα μέσα σε εξαιρετικά δυσμενείς συνθήκες λύση.
Everywhere in the Greek media, the tone is alarmist. People are worried the situation might turn either into an uprising or pressure from the street in an effort to twist the representatives' arms. Every network in the world showed the same picture on Syntagma Square, the Greek parliament besieged by the crowd waiting for the fateful vote. The Greeks exercise their civic duty here every day in the street. Our polling station is the street. Protected by anti-riot police, the representatives are locked behind these walls all weekend. The European Union summons them to vote on the austerity plan, which goes together with the memorandum. Under the pretext of saving the country, we suffer the complete violation of our democratic rights. They say the government is there to save the country, but in fact, it's pushing all of Greece into poverty. The EU has issued a warning. The bailout of 130 billion euros will not be approved until Greece passes the austerity plan. And that plan is terrible for the Greeks. Our society is impoverished, and people's living standards have fallen so much that it has undermined our rights and our democracy. Greece is the country that gave birth to democracy. And look where we are today. The current government has not even been elected, and we cannot even vote in a referendum on the austerity measures that are profoundly affecting our country. No referendum scheduled, that's true, but there will still be elections within 2 months. Elections? What elections? It's a mockery. Please, even if there were any, they wouldn't be free and fair. The same ones who are already there will win. We no longer trust them. We could even take up arms. I'm 80 and I've always seen my country move forward, and I refuse to see it run into the ground. It's their fault if the country is going badly. I want them to be punished for that. As long as they go unpunished, I will never die. The confrontation between the police and the crowd ends up without any major incident. But will it be the same when the Parliament's decision goes public? The next day, we head for the city called Drama. In this city located in the north of the country, another situation is at stake. Illegal immigration is a silent, yet rampant situation which has been devastating Greece for many years. The mountains ahead of us is the area where the action takes place. They mark the border with Bulgaria and run all the way to Turkey. This is where the immigrants enter EU territory. These mountains have become the main gateway to Europe for 80% of illegal immigrants. And most of the time, these illegal immigrants stay in Greece. As a consequence, in Drama, the municipal office of the immigration services is constantly crowded. How many children do you have? 2. And they are educated here in Greece? Yes. Zito is Albanian. He arrived in Drama 18 years ago after passing through the mountains, and he's been living in Greece ever since. And now you would like to go somewhere else? Germany, Denmark, France? Yes, I would. Legally, you cannot leave here to work in another country of the European Union. You'd have to start from scratch, and you'd be traveling there illegally. This means that you are stuck here in Greece. Then again, do you think any of us can survive when monthly wages go down to 350 euros? Certainly not. So will you go back to Albania? We won't have much choice. Then we should both go together in search of work. Yes, that's it. We have neither the financial means nor the European aid necessary to deal with this situation. We are part of Europe, but in this tragic context, Europe does not support us. We cannot help the immigrants if we cannot even meet our own needs. What I'm saying is not racist, it's just the sad reality. Here in Greece, we're not in a position to help anyone. I am encouraging immigrants to return home, and if they find work, to call me. I'm interested. This immigration civil servant is really upset, and we understand why. After many severe cuts into his salary, his income doesn't allow him anymore to make ends meet. As soon as we got out on the street, another story of a civil servant, different, but not so better. It is the story of this policeman who tries hard to keep law and order in the streets of drama. His name is Christos. He is 27. And he's not really cut out to impose fines on the citizens. I have a master's degree in biology, but for now I work as a municipal police officer. I do this because I don't have a choice. It was impossible to find work in my field. But now I know that my salary can be cut in two. I begin to wonder if it's all really worth it. Like Christos, there's an increasing number of people in Greece who come to the same conclusions.
Το πλήθος των διαδηλωτών που απέκτησε το κοινοβούλιο να διαμαρτυρηθεί για τα επώδυνα μέτρα ήταν μεγάλος. Με τις αγορές να κοιτάζουν πάλι με
In Athens, 100,000 people are gathered outside the Parliament. And at the same time in drama, like everywhere else in Greece, it's the same scenario.
Εμείς είμαστε ισχυροί, εμείς είμαστε οι δύναμοι, εμείς είμαστε οι κινητοί αδύναμοι και πρέπει να επιβάλλουμε τη θέλησή μας, σαν κοινωνία.
Among the protesters, there is Christos, the police officer, in plain clothes this time. As a municipal official, I would think I had a stable, even a privileged situation, but this is not the case. My salary just dropped to 530 euros. I have a 5-year degree, and this year I will probably lose a job that I did not even choose. I do not feel European at all, because if I did, I would not be here protesting in the cold, facing a rotten future. In a nearby cafe, we're watching the pictures live from Athens. The police force is fighting off the demonstrators, and the rioters come on stage. The situation is deteriorating. Theophylactos, the Immigration Service civil servant we met this morning, is also watching TV from the other side of the bar. In fact, he works here every night to complement his salary cut in half by the austerity measures.
Το κέντρο της Αθήνας θυμίζει βομβαρδισμένη περιοχή. Η καταστροφική μανία των κουκουλοφόρων δεν άφησε τίποτα όρθιο στο πέρασμά της. Με το πρώτο φως της ημέρας αποκαλύφθηκε η εικόνα της καταστροφής.
More than 100 wounded and 40 buildings burned last night in Athens. This is a bitter pill to swallow and a rude awakening. A large majority of representatives has voted in favor of the memorandum. A European bailout of 130 billion euros in exchange for a second ruthless austerity plan. Cuts include 20% off the minimum wage, 15% off pensions, 150,000 public sector jobs before 2015, and the VAT rate will double. To take the full measure of anxiety among Greeks that morning, we head to Salonika's local tax office. The lady next to you told me I had to pay 110 euros. Isn't that too much? Do you have any income coming from rentals? No, none. In any case, they cannot take anything from me. I'm broke. Even the coat I'm wearing is not mine. We're all at our limits. We're the ones who pay for their crisis. I believe that a retiree has no alternative but to die. They'll even tell you, you're a retiree? Just go away and die. Even if they cut the electricity, I could not pay it. They have no right to deprive poor people of that. And yet, the government has already done it by enforcing the first austerity plan. In order to compel the Greeks to pay the property surtax, the government has decided to include the tax on the electricity bill. As a result, if you don't pay your tax, they'll cut off your power. There's no way we'll be able to repay the debt with taxes like this. There is a hypnotic propaganda that says that the Greeks only like to have fun, they do not work. But this is a big lie. Tax fraud is everywhere, not only in Greece, but also in France, Germany, everywhere. If someone wants to get out of paying, they will find a way. It is up to the state, the tax authorities, and the politicians to address this problem. The State Council ruled that this method of tax collection was unconstitutional, but in the end, the Greeks will have to pay in one way or another. How can we explain the state's ferocious policy? Mainly because of the extent of public deficit spending, but also because the lack of civic engagement leads to a loss of public revenue. Over 25% of the Greek economy allegedly evades taxes. The Fraud Squad service from the region of Salonika deals with this kind of petty crime. Dimitris Mavridis is the new head of department, and as a matter of fact, his speech needs improvement. I don't think tax evasion is a problem that is exclusive to Greece. This is a global problem. Well, okay, maybe it happens a little more in Greece. But it is mainly because the state is not very well equipped to combat it. It's likely that the agents do not always fulfill their missions as they should. And perhaps compared to other Europeans, Greeks try to play the system a bit more often. The gentleman did pretty well given the circumstances, but he won't say more. It must be said that his predecessor was dismissed and charged with fraud. I do not wish to talk about this because the case is still under investigation, and so we must await the court decision. We understand Mr. Mavridis' situation, especially since he's got nothing to blame himself for. But still, let's remind ourselves what Georges Papandreou said. Imagine if the tax inspector himself is corrupt, you can forge as many taxes as you want, but it won't change anything. Humor as a weapon of resistance. It works always in a time of crisis. Here's some evidence in this warehouse in the suburbs of Salonika with this burlesque talk show hosted by Antonis Kanakis.
Αλλά όλα αυτά έγιναν, κυρίες και κύριοι, για μας. Όλος αυτός ο αγώνας έγινε για μας, για τους Έλληνες πολίτες, για να πονέσουμε λιγότερο.
Αυτές τις ώρες τις δύσκολες πρέπει να κοιτάμε τον απλό τον κόσμο. Προσπαθούμε ο κόσμος να πονέσει λιγότερο. Ο κόσμος να πονέσει λιγότερο. Ο κόσμος να πονέσει λιγότερο. Να πονέσει λιγότερο.
Στη δημοκρατία δεν υπάρχουν αδιέξοδα. Αντώνης Σαμαράς. Θέλετε να πονέσετε λιγότερο ή περισσότερο?
Συγγνώμη, το να μην πονέσουμε καθόλου παίζει ως πιθανότητα. Πόσο θα θέλαμε να μην πονούσαμε καθόλου? Είναι θυμωμένος και να συμπεριφέρεται σαν θυμωμένος.
Everyone is very angry, but we have not lost our sense of humor. Even if the humor has become ever more fierce, sadder, angry.
Την ώρα που στη Βουλή ήταν σε εξέλιξη η συνεδρίαση για την ψήφιση του Μνημονίου νούμερο 2, οι εικόνες από την αίθουσα του Κοινοβουλίου ταξίδευαν μέσα στο γαλαξία μας. Κάπτεν, η Ελληνική Βουλή συνεδριάζει για το Μνημόνιο. Για βάλε λίγο να δούμε.
Ο Ρούσβελτ το 1933, θέλοντας να απαντήσει στην κρίση του 29...
Ποιος Ρούσβελτ? Τι χρονιά έχουμε?
Δεν φοβήθηκα όταν μου έβαλαν πιστόλι στον κρόταφο για να αποκαλύψω τον κρυψώνα του πατέρα μου. Μια παράδοση αγώνων.
Τι τους λέει, Χριστέ μου.
Με όλο το πανελλήνιο σοσιαλιστικό
κλείστε τον
κίνημα.
κάποιος, Άννη πια.
Ας σώσουμε την Ελλάδα. Πυρ. Μπράβο, Κάπτεν. Είμαι σίγουρος ότι κάποτε οι Έλληνες θα μας ευγνωμονούν γι' αυτό.
Σίγουρα.
Δυστυχώς πρόκειται μόνο για επιστημονική φαντασία. Μόνο τα ούφο της Βουλής είναι πραγματικά.
Δεν υπάρχουν λόγια για να περιγράψουμε.
We cannot begin to describe the frustration.
Είναι η πεμπτουσία της απογοήτευσης.
The relationship with our politicians can be summarized in one word: disappointment. And we are angry because no one has taken responsibility, nor apologized for what happened to our country. Not a single person. All these years, we could only see their incompetence and their incredible ability to lie. And it is just amazing that these same politicians now have the audacity to ask us to vote for them, proclaiming to be the ones who will save us. If Radio Arvila has so much success, it's because they managed to make the Greeks laugh in one of the most tragic times of their modern history. But there's something that doesn't make them laugh as much. That's when foreigners make fun of Greece.
Ξεκινήσουμε τον έκ του ΣΤΕΔ, γιατί έχουμε γίνει ανέκδοτο. Γενικότερα υπάρχει ο Μάριο Τραγκίνο, πρόεδρος
του Ευρωπαϊκού Κεντρικού Τραπεζικού,
ο οποίος σου πάει κόντρα, Στάθη, γιατί λέει πολύ ωραία κρύα ανέκδοτα και οι υπόλοιποι φαίνεται να διασκεδάζουν.
It's just we said that Greece is unique, but Greece is unique for everything, and I mean.
Λέει ότι η Ελλάδα είναι μοναδική σε όλα και από κάτω σκάσει τα γέλια.
Έχει το ύφος.
Έχει το ύφος.
Ποτέ ξανά το μοναδική.
Ο συνάδελφος σας θεάτρο το έχει το ύφος.
Ποτέ ξανά το μοναδική δεν ακούστηκε τόσο πολύ σαν βρισιά πάτη.
Είναι πολύ σημαντικό όταν είσαι δυνατός.
When you're powerful and coming to someone's aid, you need to know when to show a little respect. It is very important. This is very important. They tend to forget that they are not dealing with a company going bankrupt, rather an entire nation. And they don't have the right, despite our poor economic situation, despite the fact that we need their help, to offend our country, our citizens, and our dignity. What I would like to remind our French and German friends is that from one day to the next, they could find themselves in a very similar situation. Tuesday night, the week has just started, but everybody's already enjoying the bouzoukis. Bouzoukis are the traditional nightclubs where the Greek youth enjoy themselves. With all these measures passed on Sunday, we all wonder how we can continue to laugh and have fun. All of us students are starting hard to head into the work world one day. But we will never find work. For the next 60 years, we will pay the price of cutthroat policies and a poorly run democracy. But guess what? We're not depressed. Because life is not politics. Life is about the living. As Theodoros Kolokotronis, a hero of the revolution, said, "Rise up and keep your head up." Because Greeks even speak to God with their head up. That's why we're having fun, because that is what the Greek people deserve. That's all. Thank you very much. Last stop before Athens, Larissa. Another approach to the crisis, another face of Greece, the Church of the 40 Martyrs. We meet with Father Pavlos. In the end, wherever you are in the world, crises will always be about values. Maybe there will be agitation, indignation, revolts. But the will of God will always win out. Because as God said, without me you can do nothing. The church is doing all it can. The church is the family. The church is the state. The church offers so much. We could have prevented all this had we only been a little more charitable. You see, today there are only small dishes, lentils with olives. Yesterday a man came to me and I gave him a little money. Yet he was still very moved, and so I told him, "Calm down, it's not very much." He said, "My father, a few years ago it was I who gave money to the church for the poor, and now the hand of the church is giving back to me." We had to improve this place this year as demand has increased. Greater demand means greater supply. We must anticipate people's needs because there are people who don't even have any clothes or blankets. We must show solidarity everywhere. And despite the leaders' rough economic policies, this solidarity should not stop. It will never stop. They can destroy everything, but they will never destroy love, ever. The Orthodox Church is very rich. It is often called into question under the pretext that it's exempt from taxes like ship owners are. To defend itself, it promotes its unquestionable role in society.
Δραματικές θα είναι οι μειώσεις των κατώτατων μισθών για τουλάχιστον 280.000 εργαζόμενους του ιδιωτικού τομέα, με τη μείωση των μισθών κατά 20% που ζητούν οι επιτηρητές. Θα δημιουργηθεί μια τεράστια κοινωνική ομάδα φτωχών εργαζομένων.
Athens the next morning. Back on Syntagma Square in front of the Parliament. On the square, calm has been restored. Spring has begun to point the tip of her nose. Musicians play in front of luxurious hotels, and sitting outside the hotels, this collapsing dog who's at home. It's an abandoned dog.
That is, his name is Glikas. It means sweetheart. It's like they master this area. The municipality of Athens vaccinates them, cleans them, and feed them. That's why they're so fat. They're fat dogs, as you can see. There is a dog called Lukanikos. It means hot dog, and he's in every demonstration in Athens. He stands at tear gases like no one else, even with a mask. He doesn't need a mask.
Since then, Lukanikos has become a real idol. He made the cover of Time magazine as the person of the year.
I was here in every ride. I was inside the door, of course. I was inside the hotel. But outside was a war. It was a war zone. They broke everything. I bought a mask, a tear gas mask on my own, and glasses, so to avoid the tears. Everybody inside has this kind of mask, and we have masks, separate masks, small masks for the guests. These scales are changed recently, and as you can see, they are different from the other marble here. All the new marble was broken to the last riots and demonstrations.
Rioting demonstrators used these marble steps as projectiles against the anti-riot police. The confrontation lasted several hours. A week later, calm was restored and Syntagmus Square became again a nice place where it's a pleasure to take a stroll. In front of the Parliament, the changing of the guard every hour is an event that tourists never get tired of watching. It is the only thing authorities let us film. For weeks, we have been asking a permission to film inside the Parliament in vain. We decide to go up the adjacent street towards the official entrance of the Parliament. And this is when we run into a peculiar florist. Spiros has been living here for 15 years after studying political science at the University of Chicago.
Since Troika came to Greece, our everyday life is policemen, policemen, and policemen around. Let the Troika pass now. As you see, the Troika? Yes. They pass every day. The conquerors. You know, before they used to be the people who occupy one country, the Gauleiters, the German Gauleiters, now they call them advisors. You see hundreds of policemen guarding the parliament from people who complain every day, who pass from the sidewalk and they say how traitors are the politicians. The policemen, I think they are here because the representatives of the parliament pass from here to go to their business, and sometimes they eat breakfast like yogurt from people in the face. You understand? So they protect them from that, because they don't want that to happen in front of the parliament.
Until most recently, members of parliament were kings of the city. Today, they must hide under the protection of the police and the anti-riot squad.
All juntas in the world, if you go to a place where they have dictatorship, they are all guarded like that. My children are 24, 21 and 12. And I hope one day they will be free citizens and free Greeks, like they used to be.
They are not free today?
No.
Why?
I cannot speak anymore because I'm now emotional. We are not free anymore. I hope Europe will take our example to wake up. To wake up. This is what we need, to wake up.